The night Benita met Emeka, Lagos felt like it was holding its breath. Neon lights washed the street in blue and gold, and rain tapped the roof of the printing shop where he worked. She came to fix a last-minute order. He stepped out from behind a heavy machine, sleeves rolled up, smile warm enough to melt the storm. He spoke softly, like someone who understood silence. He made her laugh without trying. When the power blinked, he lit a small torch and guided her through dark aisles, like a gentleman from another time. She felt safe. She felt seen. He asked nothing about her family name or her money. For the first time in a long time, her heart opened its door. She did not know that on the other side of that door, a shadow waited with patient hands. Emeka told her he worked late because there's no one waiting at home. The words were light, almost careless. Benita believed him. She loved how he listened, how he remembered the tiny things she said, her favorite suya spot, the song she hummed in traffic, the way she hated loud bragging. He made every small moment feel like a gift. On their second meeting, he fixed her father's old watch, as if he had been born for the task. He said he admired strong women who fought for their dreams. Benita smiled and hid the fact that money had never been her fight. She wanted a heart, not a brand. When he touched her wrist to fasten the watch, the lights came on and she saw her future too quickly. She did not see the ring mark on his finger, pale as a ghost in the glare. Her best friend Ify warned her, "He is too smooth." Benita laughed it off. Not every smooth man is a slippery one, she thought. Emeka sent morning texts before sunrise and goodnight messages with prayers. He remembered to ask about her mother's health. He met her at bookshops, not bars. He preferred long walks to loud parties. How could a liar be so gentle? Still, small things nudged her. He never invited her to his place. He said his landlord was wicked and the apartment was too small for visitors. He kept his phone face down. He disappeared on Sundays, claiming work calls, but the way he said her name made the world quiet. The way he looked at her made fear feel foolish. She told herself that love is not a court case. She forgot that truth does not need a lawyer. Emeka introduced Benita to a cousin who praised him like a saint. The cousin said Emeka was the one who paid for his exams, the one who carried everyone's burden. Benita felt proud to love a man like that. They ate jollof in a small shop and laughed until people turned to stare. Emeka's phone rang. He stepped outside to answer. Voice low, eyes soft with worry. A client, he said when he returned, and hugged her like he needed shelter. Benita wanted to be his shelter. She told herself that every strong man also needs a place to rest. She did not wonder why the cousin never called him by name. Only bro. She did not ask why Emeka paid in cash always and never used a card. Love can make a woman careful with the wrong things. He spun a tale about his childhood, how his father left, how his mother died, how he grew up walking. Benita's chest tightened with tenderness. She thought of all her blessings and wanted to share them. She bought him new shirts, not because he asked, but because she wanted him to feel chosen. He accepted with grateful eyes and kissed her forehead like a promise. He never spoke of holidays, never spoke of we beyond the moment. When Benita asked about Christmas, he laughed. I don't plan that far. She took it as a sign of a free spirit. She did not know that some men avoid calendars the way thieves avoid cameras. She set aside her doubts like old receipts and kept the smile he gave her in a pocket close to her heart. It started small. Emeka's machine needed a part. The shop owner would not pay. Benita offered to help. He refused at first, then accepted with long thanks and quiet pride. Later it was rent. I'll pay you back next month. Then his cousin got sick and needed medicine. Every time, he looked ashamed, and every time, Benita said, "It's fine, we're a team." She wasn't foolish. She just believed generosity was a seed that always returned as fruit. She did not see how carefully the soil had been prepared around her. Ify shook her head. Love with two eyes open, she warned. Benita promised to be careful, but her heart was driving and her eyes were in the back seat, looking at sunsets instead of road signs. Sundays were the tight fist in the soft hand. He called at dawn, spoke sweet words, then vanished by noon. He said he had deliveries to make. He said he had meetings, church events, market runs. His stories did not repeat, and that made them feel true. When Benita asked to come along, he smiled and said, "Next time." She let it go. She believed in giving a man space. But silence has a smell when it grows too heavy. She started to notice how he planned dates on weekdays, how he kept her away from the island malls where families walked hand in hand. One Sunday evening, she passed a playground and imagined his laughter there with a child beside him. The thought brushed her skin like a cold wind and left before she could catch it. Benita begged to see where he lived. He finally agreed, but when they reached the street, he stopped. "Ah, the landlord is fighting again," he said, pointing at a crowd. She saw people gathered and a woman shouting. Emeka pulled her back and said they should go. Another day, he promised. He took her to a quiet park and fed her meat pies while telling a joke about policemen and Okada riders. She laughed and forgot her anger. When she got home that night, her mother asked if this man had roots or only branches. Benita smiled and said, "Roots, take time." She went to bed with happiness and a headache. Dreams came with images of locked doors and someone whispering her name from the other side. A stranger's message found her on a Tuesday. "Who are you to Emeka?" The name on the account was Ada. Benita stared at the phone for a long time. She typed slowly, "A friend." The reply came at once, "I am his wife." The room tilted. Benita dropped the phone and pressed her hands to her face. When she finally called Emeka, his voice was calm. "It's a prank," he said. "Someone is jealous. Ignore it." He came over that night with shawarma and a smile and a story about fake accounts. He held her as she cried and wiped her tears with gentle fingers. She wanted to believe him so badly that she did. But belief is a bridge. If one nail loosens, every step after it makes a new sound. To quiet her doubt, Emeka said, "Come meet my people." He took her to a modest flat and introduced a middle-aged woman as his aunt and two young boys as cousins' children. They welcomed her with smiles too bright for the dim apartment. The aunt hugged her and whispered, "You're good for him." Benita felt peace return like a shy bird. They ate okra soup and laughed. Emeka squeezed her hand under the table, but one of the boys slipped and called Emeka daddy before the aunt corrected him sharply. Emeka laughed it away. "They call every man daddy in this compound." Benita smiled. She put the mistake in a box in her mind and tied it with rope. She did not realize that rope burns slowly before it breaks. If he refused to be quiet, she did her own digging and found an address that did not match the flat Benita visited. "Come with me," she said. Benita resisted, then agreed. They went on a Sunday. They waited. A woman came out holding a little girl's hand. Emeka followed with the girl's school bag. He kissed the woman's cheek and lifted the child like a man lifting his whole world. Benita felt her lungs lock. She wanted to run, but her legs would not move. Ify gripped her hand until her nails hurt. "Now you see," Ify whispered. The wind carried children's laughter across the street like small bells. Emeka turned. For a second their eyes met, and Benita saw it the secret standing there in daylight. No shame, no apology. She left before he could speak. He came to her gate that night, knocking like rain. She opened because she needed answers, not because she wanted him near. Emeka started with tears. He said the marriage was dead. He said he was staying for the child. He said he had planned to tell her. He said many things, and the words took shapes like soap bubbles, bright, beautiful, and gone the moment they touched air. Benita listened without looking at him. "You stole my peace," she said at last, "and you used love to do it." He knelt, he begged, he promised to leave his wife. Benita felt something break in her, not a clean snap, but a slow tear. She told him to go. He left with shoulders low, but not before asking, "Can you lend me something small? I'll pay you back." That was the moment the last light went out. Benita withdrew from everything. She muted group chats. She stopped visiting her favorite cafe. Music was noise. Food was dust. Her mother watched her and did not push. Ify brought soup and silence. Nights became long roads with no rest stops. She replayed every memory, trying to find the point where truth could have saved her. She blamed her heart for being soft. She blamed her eyes for seeing what they wanted. She blamed herself for every naira she had given. Yet some small voice kept saying, "You were kind, you were open, the sin is not yours." She ignored the voice and folded into herself like paper. Ada reached out again. Benita did not want more pain, but she answered. They met in a church compound on a weekday afternoon when the city was too tired to lie. Ada's eyes were red but steady. She spoke with the flat tone of someone who had cried past the point of sound. She confirmed everything: marriage, child, the years of manipulation. She had stayed because fear is a cage with soft walls. He promised me to, Ada said. Every day another promise. Benita felt anger and pity fight inside her. She realized they were both standing on the same broken bridge, waving at each other through the smoke. Benita wrote Emeka a message, with clear words and no perfume. Return what you can, leave what you can't, and never contact me again. She sent it like a stone through a window. He replied with a storm of excuses. Then silence. She contacted the printing shop owner. The man had stories of missing cash and clever lies. Benita left a detailed report and walked away. She blocked numbers. She deleted dates from her calendar that belonged to a man who never owned them. She went home and slept for the first time without dreaming of locked doors. In the morning, she woke with tears and a small, strong calm in her chest. Pain was still there, but it had learned her name. Healing is not a straight road. Benita started with small things: watering the plants she had ignored, changing her bed sheets, opening the curtains. She cooked for her mother. She took a walk without checking her phone. Ify dragged her to a dance class where nobody cared about perfect steps. She laughed by mistake, and the sound surprised her. She journaled. She wrote letters she never sent. She met with a counselor who said, "Forgiveness is not for him. It is a door you open for yourself." Benita did not forgive yet, but she bought the key and kept it in her pocket. Every day, she breathed a little deeper. Every day, the city looked less like a place that wanted to swallow her. Emeka tried to come back. He waited near her office one evening and stepped into her path. He looked thinner, but his eyes were still the same: soft when he wanted, hard when refused. He said he had left his wife. Benita did not ask if it was true. She asked only, "Did you leave the lies?" He shifted. He began another story, but she raised her hand. "No more," she said. "You took my peace and tried to rent it back to me." He laughed then, a low, bitter sound. "You think you're better than me," he said. "No," she answered. "I just know myself now." She walked away with her head high and her heart steady. Behind her, the city kept moving. Some secrets die only when you stop feeding them. Months passed. Benita wasn't rushing to love. She was learning to love herself. She invested in a small literacy project for girls in her neighborhood. She watched them read stories where the girls won and the villains lost their grip. She found joy in building something real with her own hands. She spent Sundays with her mother, cooking and laughing at old films. She called Ify for no reason and for every reason. The world did not change, but her place in it did. When men came with shiny words, she listened with 2 eyes open and a calm heart. She remembered that truth does not fear questions. Peace returned, not as a guest, but as a tenant with a long lease and her name on the agreement. One evening, Ada called to say Emeka had been arrested for fraud at the shop finally. Complaints piled up, and the owner fought back. Benita felt no joy in his fall, only relief that the road had ended for his lies. Ada, free now in her own way, thanked Benita for listening that day at the church. "You did not owe me kindness," she said, "but you gave it." Benita ended the call and stood at her window. The city lights looked like new stars. She remembered the first night, the rain, the warm smile, the watch he had fixed. She took off that watch and placed it in a drawer. Time had done its work. She was no longer counting nights lost. She was counting mornings found. Benita told her story to herself, not with shame, but with power. She said, I walked through fire and kept my skin. She said, my heart is not a bank for thieves. When a new man came slow, honest, without shiny words, she did not run to him or from him. She walked beside him under a soft sky and asked the questions that truth loves. She kept her own money and her own peace. She remembered that love is not a rescue mission. It is two whole people choosing a road. The secret that stole her peace had taught her this. Peace is something you guard with open eyes and a steady voice. Benita closed the last door on that dark season and opened her windows wide. The wind came in clean. Somewhere far away, a bell began to ring, and this time it rang for her. Not every smile hides love, some hide intention. The secret that stole my peace teaches that love without truth is a trap dressed like comfort. It reminds us that kindness is not weakness, and that forgiveness does not mean returning to pain. Benita's journey shows that the heart is strong, but it must not be blind. When we trust others, we must also protect our peace, because the most dangerous thief is not the one who takes your money, but the one who takes your calm. True peace doesn't come from love that flatters, it comes from truth that stands. And even after betrayal, healing is possible when you choose self-respect over self-blame. If you've ever trusted the wrong person, let this story remind you. You can be broken and still become beautiful again. Don't let the wrong love convince you to dim your light. Walk away. Heal loudly. Choose yourself every single time. Protect your peace. Love with open eyes. And never let anyone steal the calm you worked hard to build.